The attention now turns, of course, to those detained Canadians, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. And for insight on that, we've turned to Guy Saint-Jacques, who served as Canada's ambassador to China from 2012 to 2016. He is in Montreal. Mr. Saint-Jacques, thank you very much for joining the program. Difficult to predict what Beijing's next move is here. Nothing public that says these two Michaels need to be released. Your sense on, first of all, whether they will be, and if so, when?
Well, I think what we saw today is a very important development. In fact, it was the condition that was established by Beijing to get a solution to the case of the two Michaels. And so as soon as Mrs. Meng is back in China, I think that detailed negotiations will start between Ottawa and Beijing to try to work out the timelines for the return of the two Canadians. And I think that there must have been a discussion also between Washington and Beijing to agree that once she is back, that they will also do their utmost to free to release the two Canadians. If I can recall what we did in the case of Kevin Garrett back in September 2016, we negotiated with the Chinese. They had a few asks from us. The first was that they wanted to set up a new official dialogue on national security and rule of law, which would be tasked specifically to discuss those high-profile consular cases. The other request was that we would agree to sign an extradition treaty with them. After consulting with Ottawa and looking at all of this, we said that we would agree to the creation of the dialogue, although I would note that it was not used to discuss the case of the two Michaels or of Mrs. Meng. The Chinese refused. And we said that we would not negotiate an extradition treaty, but we would agree to discuss questions around the functioning of such treaties. And then we continued the negotiations, and eventually the Chinese said that Mr. Garrett would get a sentence. The sentence would say that he could be deported, and he would be deported the following day, and we were asked to make flight arrangements. So I think in this case, we have to see if they will have any ask from Canada, and then to establish the timetable whereby Mr. Kovrig will receive a sentence, and then hopefully both he and Michael Spavor will be deported back to Canada.
Yeah, and that timeline of it is being suggested wouldn't be immediate because the Chinese don't want to make it look like these cases are connected. Have long claimed that they aren't connected, and yet I suppose that is the hope. And we don't know, as you rightly point out, what Washington may have agreed to behind the curtain. We only see this deferred prosecution agreement. When you talk about Kevin Garrett, of course, you're talking with experience about a Canadian who was held by China and who you were part of the negotiations to help free. I guess there's the bigger question, not just about the two Michaels, but Canadian foreign policy, it has been argued, has been held hostage. Things like the Huawei 5G decision, all sorts of other things have been held hostage by all of this. What does this do now in terms of changing the dynamic between Canada and China?
Well, I think once the two Michaels are back, obviously Ottawa has to completely revise its engagement strategy with China. I would argue that it has to be a lot more selective. It has to be based on the defense of our values. And I would add that we have learned a lot about what's going on in China in the last few years with the genocide in Saint-Jacques, the democracy disappearing in Hong Kong, what they are doing in the South China Sea, how they badly managed the pandemic at the outset. And I think for all those reasons, Canada should continue to work very closely with allies to agree on common measures to prevent China using such tactics in the future. But I think clearly, we will have to be much more restrained in the discussions and in the bilateral cooperation that was going on with China.
Is there, and I've only got a few seconds with you, sir, but is there a worry that China will see their approach as having worked here, that hostage diplomacy worked?
Well, of course, and it's something that they have used many times, but let's recall also that they did not expect the declaration that was adopted by close to 60 countries last February, and they know now that their reputation has been tarnished in Western countries. I think they will think twice before using such tactics in the future.
Monsieur Saint-Jacques, thank you so much for your insight into this. Certainly appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.